Hey, you want to see something really scary?
What's your favorite scary movie?
I'm gonna scare the hell out of you.
What was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk here.
What's blood for, if not for shedding?
Welcome to Fright Night.
Welcome back to Jump Scare. I'm Betty.
And I'm Chad.
This week we're covering one of the films we've watched at the Overlook Film Festival. Things Will Be Different.
What's the backup?
There is no backup. Trust me. This is it. Come on.
Is that it? A magical safe house.
Now we wait for time to pass in our present, then we head back and make sure we're clear.
Where's the key? There's got to be a key somewhere, right?
There never was a key.
Hello?
You shouldn't be here. The cycle is delicate. Time isn't kind to the displaced.
I can't take it anymore. There's no going home.
Is that what you really think?
What's that supposed to mean?
You are working with them. You brought me here to.
Why would I do any of that?
Someone is coming. Eliminate them before they reach the door, or you and your brother will die here.
Whenever we realize that we are in an excited state, we breathe in, take in our surroundings. Breathe out on the count of 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Why are you doing this?
We reviewed this film on our trip back from the film festival on our YouTube channel. This was one of the films that we viewed. It has the director.
Yeah, Michael Felker. He was the writer-director, but he was there in attendance at the festival.
And he was the editor for the Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead films that they directed. They did The Endless and Spring.
Synchronic, some others, yeah.
Yeah, VHS Viral. So, you know, he is no stranger to horror and or sci-fi because those guys have a big, mix of both. I didn't know what to expect. I call this isolation horror. Don't know if that's a thing, but if it's not, I'm making it a thing. Where it's just a one location or very minimal, because there is a scene in the film where they're like in a coffee shop, like right off the bat in the beginning, and I believe towards the end.
Yeah, there's some stuff at the beginning and the end that doesn't take place at the same location, but it's so...
90% of the film.
99% of the movie's in the one location. You know, if you show them on the helicopter getting to the place, that doesn't really count to me.
Now, this is set in a house in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it has a roundabout porch. You can walk all the way around.
Yeah.
And I love where the environment and so in this case, the house is a big integral part of the story, because you really have to, one, develop your characters, right? Especially because there are very few characters in the film. And
there's really only 2. I mean, there's more people here and there, but 98% of the movie is 2 people.
Yeah, and it's a brother and sister that are estranged, and they had something in when they were younger. They're like robbers. Like they got into some like young effery, which they do show.
Yeah.
In their backstory, and they like meet up in a local diner after their last robbery.
Yeah.
And
they've committed some crimes.
Yeah. And what drives the sister is keeping her daughter, safe and secure, and obviously, that's the way it's so sad when it's like, this is my only thing that I can do. Like, I don't know why she couldn't get a job at like Hobby Lobby or something, but
Randomly went straight to Hobby Lobby.
I'm like, mommy, crafter, she fits the bill. She's young. Yeah, maybe she's really into crocheting. She had to do something on this damn farm. She was at this place for a while.
Yeah, so you find out this is not spoiling anything because this all happens pretty quick in the movie. They committed the robbery, they run to the farmhouse, and then they do some things in the farmhouse, and then you discover that the farmhouse is kind of out of time now. They're in a little time pocket hidden away for a little while where they can wait out all the heat from the robbery and then just come out after everything's calmed down and no one's going to be looking for them anymore. It'll all be fine.
First of all, how did Michael come up with this idea? Because it's brilliant. Yeah. I want to hide out in time, not for robberies, but that would be really cool. And
there's some neat things in it where they are like, well, what are we going to eat? And then just food just appears in the shelves and, drink just appears. And they're like, oh, okay.
And there's a reason for that. And the brother is the one that has access to someone has provided this house and provided the instructions on how to go about, which is like a room with a door upstairs that they have to go do some things, which we're not going to really get into, but, spoilers. But, the whole thing was just really clever. But if you're the person that's gonna need to know who, what, why, what, you're gonna get some answers, but not a lot of answers. So this is it's vague in a sense. Because I don't personally feel that there was like 100% resolution on what the others, like the whole thing.
Yeah, what was going on. They don't exactly explain how the house is there, why it's there, what's going on. And that's fine because sometimes when you dig too deep into it, you end up with things that don't make sense or it just becomes... Sometimes it is easier to say, why is this there? Just because. And
you really could fuck it up with the time, like continuum stuff. But I have to say, because they're displaced out of time and they're in another time frame and they're literally in this farm, they're not messing with anyone else. They're not going to mess up their futures or their past or anything or anyone else's. They're not here to stop an assassination or anything.
They don't necessarily have to worry about the old trick about you stepped on the butterfly and now you triggered the end of the world.
Yeah.
So they're not so much worried about that. They're just kind of worried about what they're going to do while they're there and how they get out.
Yeah, and you feel the isolation part. You feel it big time, especially with, and this is kind of, I don't want to say clever, but how this is just right off like COVID, because a lot of people now could relate to how it feels to be in one place for a long period of time and how the repetition, the routine can become like make you insane, and you feel it even more, and how it starts off like, great, this is great, and it's all fun and whatever, and he really depicts the wave of emotions I feel like a person would go through in said situation. The characters, both the actors do a wonderful job, but
we didn't mention them yet. The brother Joseph is played by adamdavidthompson, and the sister Sydney is played by Riley Dandy. And they both do a great job of just showing you how they get into a little bit of routine. It takes them a little bit, but they get into a routine, and then they're doing okay for a while, but then, as things are wont to happen in horror movies, things start to go wrong.
Yeah, things go awry, and
maybe they're not alone there like they think. It's
maybe
there's strange things start happening, and they have to start worrying about things.
Yeah, not only do they now they're not like brother and sister. They're calling each other every day to have a great relationship. They're estranged, like I mentioned in the beginning. So not only they have to be in this one place, they're coming off a very stressful situation and going into what they thought was going to be a cool situation. It was going to be like just chill. Then it turns out not to be. And then they have to unpack all the bullshit from their childhood and the trauma and the things that they experienced. And those things take play on, one, their decisions, and two, the outcome of what happens in the end.
And it's kind of like, again, like happened with a lot of people during COVID, where you end up confined with someone and nowhere to go. You have to work out problems that you didn't plan on originally. And it doesn't always necessarily go your way, but with these people especially, they don't have a way to get away, you know? They can't just get mad and get in the car and drive away. They're stuck with each other. They have to deal with each other. They have to work together to solve all these problems, just emotionally and other things that come up later.
Yeah, and the director in the Q&A stated how because he was familiar with, editing the directors, Benson and Moorhead, their previous things, and he's already in that frame of mind, and how he really likes the smaller cast because of the character development, everyone being just in one location, how he can really just focus on what's there and expand the story. I think we should, I know we didn't really say whether or not we were going to spoil this or not. It does come out today.
Yeah, it's released theatrically today in theaters across the world.
Yeah, and definitely everyone should check it out. It's kind of hard to discuss something without spoiling it. There are favorite parts that I have to the movie. The one part of the movie, I don't think will ruin anything. There's a specific song that's played throughout the film, and at first it's like, oh, it's reminiscent for the character, and then it becomes something where it's just like a PTSD moment, I feel like, where it's just like you're listening to it like every day, and it just becomes a thing. And I felt crazy. Like, the movie made me feel uneasy because there's no way out. It's not like, oh, I could pick up my cell phone and just call an Uber and get the fuck out of here. Or, they get stuck in their situation, so they can't remove themselves from it. So they have to just make the best of it. But as the person in the audience, I just felt like such high anxiety, also such sadness. The actors did really feel like a brother and sister. Like, it didn't feel like, oh, these are just two people on the screen that are just whatever. They really played off one another really well, and they had, I don't want to say chemistry, because obviously they're not a love interest, but they did have, it looked like they had known each other like whole lives, just the things that you would do in that kind of relationship, And
it also adds to kind of like the confinement of it, that the pocket out of time where they're at is kind of in winter. Everything's it's not like it's night all the time, but everything, even during the day, it looks a little dark, a little twilighty, kind of. Even when it's in the middle of the day, it still looks a little off. It doesn't look 100% normal, It looked a little bit, I'm not going to say hazy, but just a little darker than everything should have. So I give you the idea you're out of time.
Yeah.
And nothing really grows. The fields are just kind of there. They don't really change at any point and everything. So you kind of get that, like, that seasonal affective disorder thing going, where you're kind of there for a while, so long that, you start to feel you're not, the seasons aren't changing or nothing's happening. So you get a little weirded out by that too.
Someone like you and I that have both lived in other places where there is a winter would be like, oh shit, I totally get this feeling. Like I'm there. And then someone that just has lived in their whole life, like, let's say like Florida, where it's just like fucking sunny all the damn time, right? They would they would be able to relate because they would feel it. Like they would see it and feel it and be like, oh yeah, it kind of would feel like that. So either way, however you're coming in, you're gonna get that feeling because it's just done so well, with the environment, the actors, just everything around. You get it. But I wanna discuss the other sci-fi aspect to the film, but it's kind of hard to discuss without giving a spoiler. But I will have to say that was the freakiest part of the movie. The unknown part, how things are appearing in the cabinets, how the food is coming in. Like, you do get an answer to that. But that in itself was very interesting because if the house was out of time, then one could speculate that that same house further away from the point in time that they're in, those other unknown are at that location in their house providing those things.
Yeah.
And they're off in the future. So they're the future,
or the past.
Or the past, yeah, because it's just you don't know where that is. And that's the part that freaked me out. Like the unknown. I don't know what it is. There is a part where on the farm, and it's a large piece of land. There's another subsection like a barn house or something, barn, right? Yeah. And there's something else there. There's a a safe, and things are being transported in and out of that safe. That barn house was like where the horror was. That's for me. That was like, oh shit, that's where the horror is. Like the sci-fi element, okay, we know time traveling, whatever. But the horror part was that because it's so unknown and it's so creepy. Like I was like waiting with bated breath in many scenes because I was like, what the fuck is going to happen?
They have to kind of like coordinate, like match up. They have to like put something in here to sync it up or whatever. You have to sync up the times. Like,
no,
I don't like
math
this.
is involved. I feel, and there's like stuff. I'm like, forget about it. Zero carry the one dead equals dead. Because I would not be able to do it. Be like, oh, come. Like, example. I'm going to give you, like, a real-life example for me. I had to call someone to ask them for something for my job. And I called them, and the person picked up, and they're like, oh, ha, ha, ha. You're calling from, you're calling from this time zone because I'm not in the same time zone as you. And I was like, oh, like, we had a meeting at, like, 12:30. And I called them 12:30 my time. But it was actually, like, 11:30 their time. I was like, oh, shit. I can't even get that right. And I could have Googled that shit. I would have been dead in this situation a long time ago. And then the whole thing, like, yeah, there was food, but what if, like, one of them had, like, some kind of, like, a gluten allergy or something? Where they're going to be able to provide this? These are the things I'm worried about in these situations. Like, how am I going to survive? Like, are you going to get me, like, the magic food that's going to be able to keep me alive? Or are you sending me, like, Nabisco, like, crackers?
And I would have been like, can we please get some entertainment in here? Can we get a DVD player and some movies? Because I can't just stare at these walls all day long.
Yeah, and then walk around the porch and, go to the barn and do whatever weird barn activities are going on in there.
Yeah. And, like, we're going to need some DVDs here. Because not like you can subscribe to Netflix while you're there.
And then the one song, though. There's, like, one album. That's like you go in and there's, like, one weird, like, sad-ass song that you're like, okay, so it's winter. I'm stuck in a house with my estranged brother. There's one sad-ass song that reminds me of my mom that gives me, like, fucking the heebie-jeebies, and it gives me some PTSD. I have some trauma with that. And there's guns involved. I don't know, but I'm going to tell you, it's not looking good for me.
Yeah, we're going to need to drop in some entertainment here. Please drop a DVD player, an MP3 player with some songs on it. It's things that we need to keep us from going crazy.
Yeah, I'm going to need some of those things, for sure. Yeah. But you've seen we both have, but you've seen a ton of, like, sci-fi stuff in your time, obviously. Was there something you think the film either lacked in that specific area, or something could have expanded upon, or did you just like take it like, okay, this is what it is, and I'm like totally cool with it?
I just mostly went with it. Again, there was some stuff at the end I was curious, like I would like to know a little more about, but again, you get too much more about it, it's going to get into the weirdness. So I'm kind of like, I'm fine with it. I thought it did a great job of like sticking to its rules and showing you how everything would play out. I really didn't have any issues with it. I thought it all went really well.
Yeah, a lot of the times when it comes to like sci-fi, there, like you said, there's rules that are set, and I want to say like 9 times out of 10, the rules get fucked up. Like somebody is fucking the rules up, or and then they're like, oh damn, we fucked up this rule, and then hence the chaos. A lot of the times they fuck up the rules. And then it's like, we just moving on and just ignoring that happened. And we just moving on and not acknowledging that we messed up our own rules that we set. And it's like, that's annoying. That's where the people, like the sci-fi fans, like get real intense about that. Because it's like, bro, you set the rules. What are you doing? Kind of thing. But yeah, it sticks pretty much to the rules in this one.
Yeah.
I would like to see what else Michael has in mind, what he's working on. Yeah. Especially if it's going to delve more into like isolation horror, which per his Q&A he's into, with the smaller cast and the one location.
That's also a great budget thing too. You don't have to get so many people,
Hell yeah.
Saves budget on location, saves budget on cast,
Yeah, so that's like The Quiet Place. Like, they didn't have to do a lot of, ADR or whatever.
Yeah. Because there was not that much dialogue in the movie.
Which a lot of the times they spend like a mad ton of money on to have these people come back and do this kind of thing. Yeah, because there's none of that in this world. So we don't have to like deal with all of that. But I don't know. I would like to see where else this world would go, or if there's going to be like a continuation of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it pretty much is a final.
It is, but I mean, not to be this person, but for them, yes, for the main characters, right? But for the unknown, this can be like, now we're like in the unknown's like POV. Yeah. And like, there's something else happening if they're gonna be
okay. Take it from the other people that come along
exactly
later. Okay.
That I'd be interested in watching. I think that's an interesting premise, but that's just me because I'm not really a huge fan of ambiguity, but at the same time I agree what you're saying. When you give too much, a lot of the times it does get convoluted, and it's just like, okay, well now that doesn't make any sense, or no, that's out of the realm of like belief. I can't do with it. But it's sci-fi though. I feel like you could just do all kinds of crazy things as long as you stick to the rules that you set.
Yeah.
Like you said before. I give this film, I don't want to give it a rating because I don't know, for the people that have listened to our podcast, whether you've listened for the last like 3 months or you're a long time listener, my rating, I feel like, is like all over the place. I need to really stick to my rating system, because sometimes the movie would be like a 3 or 4 knives for you, and I'm like 2 knives or 2.5, or like vice versa. So I'm gonna let you give the rating first, and then I'm gonna go based off of your rating. There you go.
Well, to me, this one I enjoyed it from start to finish, so I'm gonna say it's a 3.5 knife one.
Dad, 3.5 knives? Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna give 3 knives.
Okay.
3 knives because of the ambiguous portions. Even though I understand why and I agree with what you said, but I'm still gonna give it 3 knives.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Like I said, I would definitely like to see. I'm very glad that we were able to experience this at the Overlook Film Festival.
Yeah.
It was definitely a treat. Something out of the norm. My mind didn't go in thinking when I attended the festival that I was gonna step into this kind of a world. I was more in the like slasher / body horror / like, whatever world, and I wasn't
so it's
really
nice when they kind of throw us a curve,
Yeah, for sure, because there's a lot of things that, I'm afraid of space. like, that scares the shit out of me. I don't want to see a movie with that. Like, no, but when it's like this kind of sci-fi I can handle, because it's not bigger than me, you know, in that kind of sense. Like, it's vast and there's just like unknown, even though there are unknown elements. I'm
it's
like,
not
okay,
like a Cthulhu unknowable kind of madness or anything
not
like
Cthulhu,
that.
No, thank goodness. That would be just terrible. But yeah, well, thank you so much for joining us in another episode of Jump Scare the Horror Podcast. Stay tuned to the horror.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.